welcome to day 4. I've just left the bothy. I'm walking along, so this is on the move. Lovely morning. There's the view. Bothy was just back round that corner. This is the path I'm on, so it's very easy walking. A nice start to the day. And look at that. Not bad, eh? So I heard a lot of heavy rain and strong winds in the night, so I'm pleased I was in the bothy actually. Two other chaps in there from Woking, doing the trail north to south, so they've been going just 3 days. So today, well, again, I'm hoping to get a bit of good mileage in. There's one fairly steep long uphill bit which will be slow, but apart from that most of it seems to be on tracks, and I'm going to take what the alternative offered by the guidebook as the easier route, which goes down to a road, and I think it's about 5k of road walking, which isn't the most pleasant, but one can stride out there and really get quite a good pace on, hopefully, because I want to catch up a bit. I'm still behind my schedule, so that I don't have too much on Friday, when I'm hoping to make Sandwood Bay and then the Cape on Saturday. Weather looks good again this morning. I've been very lucky so far. Touch wood, I'm tempting fate a bit. Slightly chilly, but that's because it's only 7:30 in the morning. But the sun looks set that it might even show through, although equally there's plenty of dark clouds which could dip down on me. So that's the dark cloud up there, and that's the sun trying to come through there. We'll see which will win out. I've been going a couple of hours now, climbing up over the tops towards a place called Akfari. Had a squally rain shower just a short while ago. You can see the pack has got its cover on. Had to stop and get all my waterproofs out, but although there's still some pretty threatening clouds around, there's also the sunshine, as you can see, so I'm hoping the sunshine will win. Beautiful setting here on this loch. So this is the last bit of big uphill that I've got on the whole trail. There'll be ups and downs obviously, but in terms of a big ascent up here. So in another couple of hours I should be up and over the top and heading down to a place called Akfari, then a bit of road walking, and then I'm going to see how far I can get, so as to make the next day as short as possible. Not as short as possible, but short enough to get to Sandwood Bay. But that's a little bit away yet. I've got a long way to go today. Well, what a contrast. I've come down from the tops. Once I got to the high point, as I said, I am taking the alternative route, which is slightly easier, and it's downhill all the way on a nice clear forestry track. But yes, it's just a bit of a shock to the system. One comes down to flat countryside, still some big hills over there, but I've had 4 days, well 3.5, this is day 4, in the biggest, remotest mountains, and I'm back to a road. I haven't seen a road, I haven't seen a car. There's one just coming along now, in 4 days. and it feels kind of strange coming back to civilization, if that's what we call it. It's still very quiet and there's still wonderful scenery around, but there's kind of a feeling that this is getting towards the end point. I've left the really big remote areas behind, and my route takes me along the road here for about 5 kilometres. That little place sort of there is Akfari, which the guidebook says there's nothing worth stopping for. So it's along here for 5 kilometres to Lochstack Lodge, which is where the other route, the more tricky route, comes out, and then turning right and heading towards Reconish. So I'm making quite a good time, so I'll head off there and see how I go. And what a change in the weather. Up the tops it was quite heavy rain in squally bursts, not consistent, and but a bit chilly, and had my rain gear on. And I also got my first tick bite, and I think they're invading me now, so I had to get that out. But lovely weather, as you can see down here, sunshine, but then, as I say, the civilization, the contrast, lovely houses, stables, traditional buildings, and the estate office. A tricky river crossing here. There's really nothing I can see up there or down there, so I think this is a boots off job, and take it carefully. This is the very sad and uncomfortable place I ended up at the end of the day. I made the mistake of trying to press on towards Reconish to get some extra mileage, but the path was just boggy and marshy all the way, and all the surrounding ground. I partly fell in that river that I showed you in the last clip and got wet, and eventually night fell and I just had to put the tent anywhere, and this is where I ended up. So here's today's route. I spent last night at the Bothy, set off. It's a nice easy walk along there for the morning, get the legs warmed up, pretty flat and even, past the waterfalls, and then sharp right. And again, this is a very clear path, nice sort of 4x4-y type track, going uphill, up, quite a long way. It keeps going on up here until eventually you come to a choice point. You can take the what they call the main route, the tougher route up there, but I chose not to, or you can stick on this very clear 4x4 track which goes down here. This is a little confusing because the map shows you to going right through the forest, but they've obviously done some felling, so it's no longer through forest, it's through open countryside. But when you get there, there is a clear gate and it heads down to the road. Come down the road to the road here, walk along to Akfari, not much there, a few very nice houses though, and then continue along the road quite a way along here until you come to Lochstack Lodge, which is where you join up. If you've taken the tougher route over the top, they come down past Lochstack Lodge. Then this is quite a nice road along here, well, a track, a 4x4 estate road up here. And I would, if you get here and you're camping, this is sort of the place to camp. I made the mistake of continuing on, and the trail goes off to the left here. That's a very hard one to find. You see on the map it's just red dots. Red dots means there's no clear path, and that's right, you really have to do it off the grid reference in the guidebook. I took quite a little while to find it. Anyway, this is where I made my mistake, so I then headed along this. This is just awful walking, muddy, marshy, and the whole. Come along here to this river crossing. This is the tricky river crossing, and that's where I made the mistake and got wet, and I tried. By now it was dark, so I camped somewhere around about here in the midst of marsh and stuff. Just a quick good morning. Yesterday didn't end very well, that's why I didn't hear any more from me after the river crossing. Got across that, but got a bit wet. But then my plan was to, yes, press on and camp but unfortunately it's absolutely terrible terrain for camping around here, all the way along from, well, sort of Lockstack Lodge, and I'm not at Reconic yet. Muddy and boggy, and so I was hunting and hunting for a proper place to camp, or a place to camp, and it got darker and darker because I decided to sort of press on, and eventually night fell, and so I've ended up camping in this sort of place here. But as you can see, it's really just awful territory. There's heather, idea, and it's very wet. It's not totally boggy, but it's wet underfoot. So I'll get packed up as quick as I can and get on my way. I've arrived at Reconic, and it's nice sunny morning, as you can see, although a squally rain shower did blow through just as I was packing up the tent. And here we have a couple of rather noisy motorised paragliders, so I think I'd better stop recording just for the moment. After the interruption from the motorised paragliders at Reconic, I've moved on. I'm heading towards Kinloch Bothy. It's a lovely day. There's the view. The sun is trying to come through, although intermittent rain showers and squalls threaten. So the plan for today is fairly simple. It's into Kinloch Bothy and get a small amount of resupplies just for the next day, really, and then head on to Sandwood Bay, rite of passage to camp there, and prepare for tomorrow. Here's the famous London stores. Looks just like a little dingy house selling ice creams, so I'm not going in. Partly I want to press on a bit, but I stopped just back down the road there at the old schoolhouse cafe. Can't recommend that too highly. Delicious food, although perhaps everything tastes delicious after a week on dehydrated rations. Very friendly and very reasonable prices, half the price of what you'd pay elsewhere. And there's the view that we're looking at. My first sighting of Sandwood Bay. Oh, what a beauty there. I'll be heading down much closer in a minute, but I thought I'd give you the first view as I come over the hill. And this is the landscape behind it. Lovely rolling green hills, an old derelict farm or something, croft, and then water over behind there. Let's get down and have a closer look. Well, the sun has come out to order, and I'm down actually on the beach itself now. There's the sea with the rolling breakers coming in. What a beach! And it's absolutely deserted. There's certainly no one on the beach. There might be, I suppose, some people camped up behind, but I've got it completely to myself. and sunshine, which is very welcome because it's actually a cold wind. You can see I've got my insulated jacket and gilet on, and I've decided not to stay here tonight. It's supposed to be a sort of rite of passage, but it is pretty cold and windy. This is a nice spell. The sun has appeared. It's been doing this all day, coming out for a few minutes, and then suddenly a squally shower will come through. And also, if I make a bit more progress, there's a bothy I'm planning on going to, which is also a bit of a rite of passage, so I'm not totally missing out. That gives me a bit more progress for tomorrow, and I stand a better chance of catching the bus, which will get me over to Durness for Saturday, which is a day ahead of my plan, but that will be quite encouraging because then I know I'm there. A final farewell shot of this amazing beach, bathed in glorious early evening sunshine. It's done me proud, the weather, just for this bit. Absolutely amazing. Time to head off to the bothy. So today's walk, I packed up from my rather horrible wet site and just continued on, and it doesn't get any better really all down here until eventually you reach Reconish here, and you hit the road, and then you're really back to sort of civilization. You're then following the road all the way along here, up this way towards Kinloch Burvey, past the London stores there, and I diverted into Kinloch Burvey to the Spa store to buy a bit, but then the route carries on. It's still on the road, so very easy to follow all the way along here. Quite a distance until eventually you get to this point, which is where you leave the road and you start the final trail. But this is a very nice, clear, easy trail to walk, almost flat. You can see we're crossing very few contours and very easy to follow, even though it suggests here that it becomes less clear. It's very clear all the way until you arrive at Sandwood Bay. There we are. Didn't spend the night here, but instead left the beach at this point, and you can either go that way towards the Cape, but there is a path up here, again boggy, muddy, to the bothy, and that's where I spent the night. Good morning, day 6. Hopefully my final day, not for getting home, but off to the Cape. This is where I spent last night, in the bothy with an unpronounceable name, but it's got quite a history to it, in that it's where an eccentric chap called McCrory lived for over 30 years, a sort of recluse, a hermit, and he's got some paintings on the wall, and there's quite a bit of history about him. So here's the view this morning. It looks like it's very cloudy over there, just by a river down there for water. Hopefully the sun might be coming up. We're just panoramaing around. That's basically the direction I'm going, up there north. In the military firing range, and just another look of how desolate it is. There's the sea down there, that's where I'm heading. You can't see the Cape, and this is the landscape. It's bleak, featureless. I'm glad the weather's really not too bad. There's a cold wind blowing, but the sun is almost trying to come out there. In harsh weather this would be a horrible place to be. There it is, my first sighting. I've just rounded a corner. I'm on the road now, the very rough road from where the ferry comes up, the bus comes up from the ferry, and this is what greets you. And I've got sunshine again. I've been so lucky with the weather. It's a harsh walk across there that I've done today, but dramatic and awe-inspiring, and we finally get to the lighthouse, and it's feeling quite emotional. I've walked all this way. This is day 20 in total. I've done it in 3 sections, as I've said, but even then 20 days walking and I'm almost there. So I'm here. I've been into the Ozone Cafe, which is fairly low key. I thought I might get a sort of welcome greeting, very kind and friendly, but no sense of celebration. And there was one other German chap who's doing it north to south, but wanted to come all the way right up here before he actually set off. So he was there, all looking fresh, and then 2 Belgian people have just arrived who must have been behind me almost all the way. In fact, they said they saw me at Sandwood Bay yesterday, but they camped there and I went on to the bothy. But then the bad news is the bus, which had sent me an email saying they were running, and the 2 Belgians phoned 2 days ago and were told it was running, is not running. So there is absolutely no way of getting off here, or no easy way of getting off here. But John, the cafe owner person, has sorted something out which is going to cost £25 to get a lift to the ferry, and then he's shown us where to walk, and then we can get a taxi. So I think I'm going to collaborate with the 2 Belgians, and hopefully we'll get back to Durness sometime tonight. Well, I'm back across the inlet from over the Cape Wrath side back over onto the Durness side, but that was all a bit of an adventure. Yes, so from Cape Wrath, discovered there the bus isn't running, even though he said he should be, so a bit of a panic, and then John, the lovely chap from the Ozone Cafe, gave us a lift. All 3 of us, we paid, but I don't mind that, all the way 11 miles right down to the ferry point. But of course the ferry doesn't run if the bus isn't going normally, and so it was going to be a 1.5 hour walk across on the other side there, just over that side, up over those hills down to there, and then eventually there's a bridge crossing over, and then that would have left about a 5-mile walk back up this side to Durness, or another taxi ride. But, as luck would have it, as John was bringing us down, he spotted through his binoculars, which he got out of his glove compartment, having been a coast guard at one time, that the ferry was actually moored over here, and then was just on its way across, and it was coming across to pick up a cyclist who paid him to do the journey, and we mess up, and so I've just been ferried across by the ferryman over to this side. So now it's just I think about a 3-mile walk up to Durness. So I am where I wanted to be, but it was by a different mechanism and with quite a lot of anxiety. And here comes, it was so small this ferry, it could only take me and the chap with his bike, and so now it's gone the return trip, and it's coming back over with the Belgian couple who are zooming across, and you can see what a tiny little boat it is. Ferry is a little bit of an exaggeration. It's just a tiny little dinghy thing with an outboard motor, but I just wanted to show you. But it does show that when you get to Cape Wrath, really you've got to be prepared. It can be tricky to get off. You may have to pay extra money, and you might have to do some extra long walking all the way round. And the tide is out at the moment, so I just thought I'd show you this wonderful inlet. So over that side is, the far side is the cape leading out to Cape Wrath, sort of over there, and then there's this wonderful sort of sand covered estuary. The ferry comes over from that side, brings us over. Look at that, just beautiful. Well, all's well that ends well, after the discovery that there was no bus, and then the success that John from the Ozone Cafe would give us a lift 11 miles down a bumpy road, and then the ferry running when it shouldn't have been and wasn't expected. we then discovered that's the last ferry until Easter. Yes, Easter 2023. So how good was that? And the only reason it was running was because a Frenchman on a bike, off-road bike, had sort of booked it for today. So that was the only reason it was there, and this kind Frenchman gave us all a lift, me and the Belgian couple, all the way back up to Durness, which saved another 3 miles of walking. I'm now set up in the campsite, so Sango Sands, very nice, lovely to have smooth grass. So there's my little tent, and apparently a storm is coming in tonight with 50-mile-an-hour winds. And in my original plan, I would have perhaps still been on Cape Wrath on Sunday, hoping to get back. No chance. I'd have had a very uncomfortable night. No chance of getting back tomorrow, and therefore no chance of making my plane connection on Monday. So the only bad news is that the pub here isn't doing any food. It's doing beer, but it's not doing food because of staff shortages. So I've had to just get some stuff in from Spa. But hey ho, I can cope with that. And so we come to the final day, up in the morning in the bothy, and there is no path at all here. You see it's these dotted lines which just tell you there is nothing, so you really have to do it on a compass bearing and just head north, and it's another boggy, muddy type of walk. But by now you're getting quite excited. You can't really see well, you can't see the lighthouse, but when you get to sort of here, you can see that this is the end of the land mass, and you know you're getting close. And when you get to this point here, you join the rough road that brings the bus up from the ferry port. It's a rough, uneven one, but very clear to follow, obviously. And then you just turn the headland, and there's the lighthouse at the end, and you've made it. Well, good morning. This is my final video shot of the whole trip. I spent the night at the campsite. The predicted strong winds have blown in, as you can probably see and hear. So I just wanted to show you the view from here. Look at this beautiful beach. This is Durness beach, and smooth caves are about a mile further along. So it is actually a lovely morning, but oh, that wind is blowing. I don't know if there's rain coming. It doesn't actually look as though it will be, but certainly the predicted forecast is proving correct. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it and found it of interest, and if anyone is thinking of doing the trail, well, good luck, and it's just an amazing experience. It is tough, it's hard. I was very lucky with the weather on all 3 of my stages. In bad weather I think it would be a nightmare. So thank you and good